All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we're going through Proverbs 8, verse 35 through 36. Let's get it. For whoever finds me, I'm a restart. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death. So, what's the interpretation here? There's life and wisdom, right? That's the first thing. For whoever finds me finds life. Real simple there, and obtains the favor from the Lord. So not only is there life and wisdom, but as you become more wise, you will get more favor from the Lord. I don't know if it's a sequential thing or it's like you find wisdom and then you've found favor. Maybe part of gaining wisdom is realizing you have God's favor because He sent Jesus. I don't know. I don't know, but it's real clear that getting wisdom is good because it equals life and favor from the Lord. And then it goes into he who fails to find me injures himself. So if you don't have wisdom, not only are you hurting yourself, but you're choosing death. And what this really got me to the point of is that it is the everyday choices. And so there are things that we do every day where we know we should have done that thing or we shouldn't have done that thing based on our level of spirituality, maturity, and knowledge. And so when we make an everyday choice, we either choose death or we choose life. And we do it in all the small ways. So wisdom might tell us not to do things based out of fear, but then when you act out of fear, you've made a choice to choose the result of death instead of the result of life. And so acting based on our wisdom to the greatest extent of our knowledge, maturity, wisdom, and spirituality, when we act like that, we're choosing life. When we act contrary to that, we're choosing death. And it's in the everyday choices. It's in deciding to eat that extra Oreo and not treat your body like a temple, and deciding to gossip about your brothers and sisters instead of, speaking highly of them. Knowing this verse that um, whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, focus on these things, knowing that verse, and then choosing not to focus on the true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, excellent, and praiseworthy things. So anytime you're focused on anything that's not that, now that you've heard this verse, it is against your wisdom to not focus on those things. And so it's an everyday choice, right? The entrepreneurial application of this for me is one, phase three, finding clarity. And I want to point out that it's finding clarity for me because once you get clarity on what you're here to do, it leads to fulfillment. I think part of wisdom is getting that clarity on who God is in your life, what He has for you. And as you get that clarity, that's the life you're called to, like plans to prosper you, that type of vibe. That is the life that the Lord is calling you to. And most of us get just enough to survive and call that living. And that's not the case because we're really just dying. We're prisoners. We're just wasting away. And we're in survival mode instead of like, what has God called me to do? Impact mode, spread the kingdom mode. And so, yeah, I'd say that's why clarity is key here. And like when I think of finding wisdom, I'm like, okay, if I found wisdom, I'm not really confused. I don't think of a wise person as confused. And when you find wisdom, you find life. So as I'm less confused, which I'm more clear, I find life. I find the life that God made for me, and I will get favor from God as I choose to live out that life that He put me here to live out. That's crazy. When I do His will, I get His favor. Wild. Um, but yeah, that's kind of why it was clarity for me. Why it spoke to getting clarity, because I think as we gain wisdom, we get clear. And phase one was identifying limiting beliefs. And specifically, people who hate improvement love the comfort of pain and inadequacy. That is how this has shown up, or how it made me think of it, and how I think it can apply to entrepreneurship. Because, verse 36 is like, he who fails to find me injures himself. So that person who's not finding wisdom, who's not getting that clarity, who's not getting that favor, who's not getting that life that they're meant to get, they're injuring themselves. And not only are they injuring themselves, but as you injure yourself more and more, it gets you to the point of death, right? So it's a continuation of injuring yourself. It says, all who hate me love death. So not only are you injuring yourself, but you love injuring yourself. And I think a lot of this comes back to knowing how God looks at you and knowing what God says about you. Like the fact that He promised you life, that He gave you a choice. For you to choose death is shows a lack of faith in his promises. And it's saying that what you think of yourself is more important than what God thinks of you, which is absurdity because he's the creator of the universe, right? And so when you're choosing to hate improvement and instead you're choosing to love the comfort of pain and inadequacy, and I mean pain because it's like it's painful to be broke, it's painful to be unhealthy, it's painful to not be intimate, it's painful to not be serving how you're put here to serve, it's painful to do things that drain your energy instead of give you energy. All that is pain, but it's pain that we're comfortable with because we've learned to cope with it. And because we've learned to cope with it, we don't want to risk adding more pain because that might just break us. However, stepping out of the comfortable pain we're experiencing in our life might be the key to experiencing the blissful fulfillment that is promised to us in the Bible. And I'm not saying it's happy go lucky all the time. I'm talking about contentment. I'm talking about the peace of Christ. I'm talking about the promises that are in the Bible. You get that by going towards Christ, understanding who he is more, and then doing what he calls you to do. I think that comes in to entrepreneurship because I think business is really just a way to serve people. And I think money is a tool to impact people. And business is creating systems and frameworks such that you can impact more people. And a lot of people are too scared of the risk that comes with impacting people, the judgment you get from impacting people. And yeah, I think when it comes to identifying those limiting beliefs, realizing where you are injuring yourself, realizing where you're choosing to love the death that you're committing yourself to, that is key in identifying those limiting beliefs. And specifically, it made me think of people who hate improvement and love the comfort of pain and inadequacy. Because even though it's painful, they've learned to cope with it. And even though they're inadequate, they don't get judged or isolated because misery loves company, right? So, where has this shown up in my life? Limiting belief around money. For the longest time, I thought it was painful to spend money. And, I still catch myself sometimes like, ooh, that's a lot. $10,000, $5,000, $3,000. What if I lose it? I still find myself in that scarce mindset sometimes, but I'm able to catch it and realize I don't resonate with that. And I caught it to a level that I think I started my self improvement journey and I started catching it, right? But I didn't realize how deep it went. And just so you guys know, if you haven't heard this, for me, it was painful for me to spend money because I saw my parents experience pain every time they spent money growing up. And then I would project that painful belief onto people. So if it hurt me to spend money, it must hurt other people to spend money. So then it was really hard for me to get ahead as an entrepreneur because I was like, if it hurts me to spend money and I'm projecting that belief onto other people, it hurts them to spend money. And now I'm asking them for money for my service. That means I'm causing them pain because if they give me money, it hurt them to spend that money because it hurts to spend money. And so me projecting that belief everywhere made me think, well, if I'm selling them something, instead of providing value in the service, I am inflicting pain, which makes me a bad person. And nobody wants to think of themselves as a bad person. So that's a limiting belief around money that I've recently worked through. That's how this has shown up in my life of like, I was injuring myself. I was loving the death of not allowing others to bear my burdens with me and not allowing myself to bear burdens with others because a system that allows us to sustainably do it. I wasn't taking part in it. I was trying to skirt around the system because of how I felt, some inaccuracies I had around what money is meant for. The other way it's shown up in my life is clarity about my dreams and goals. Everybody knows I want financial freedom for myself and my family, and then I want to raise the standard of living across the world to middle class America. I hope you join me on that mission, but that is my mission, and it gives me life. I wake up every day knowing that I'm called to love people in a really deep way and walk with passion to bear burdens with people. Even though, I don't really particularly like talking to people. Like I'm very introverted. I'm very I could go without talking to most people. If it was just me and Gracie and every now and then I saw a couple friends, that'd be fine for me personally, but I know that I have a unique ability to bear burdens with people and an extreme personality that will go the distance with people. And I think people need that. And I think I'm uniquely put here to do that. So that's my dreams and goals. Where do I want this to show up in my life? I would say phase 5. So we talked phase 3, finding clarity. Phase one, you identify those limiting beliefs. By the way, all these phases are always going to be in the show notes from now on. But phase five, I want to show up with positive thinking and generating positive emotion, because as you find wisdom, you find life and you obtain favor from the Lord. And I just, there's not a world where that doesn't generate positive emotion in my mind. And I would say I don't always experience that. I don't always experience positive thinking. So that's where I want it to show up in my life more. And how can you guys apply this to your life? I would say look at the small things you know you shouldn't be doing. We mentioned it earlier of like every day, there are little micro choices that we make where we're not living up to the fullest extent of our knowledge, wisdom, spirituality, and just self concept and everything we know to be good. We're not living up to the fullest extent of that. And we're doing it in really small ways. Look at those small things that you know you shouldn't be doing and start there. As you start there, and you start to eliminate those things and you start to seek more wisdom, you'll see more opportunities, you'll see growth, you'll see other things open up. And yeah, you will grow and find life and find favor and stop loving death. So that's all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.